We've had quite the journey over the course of the last 10, now going on 11 years. Starting with 5 years of research into sustainable food and energy production, moving into a year's worth of analysis, design, and simulation for the Habitat 1 prototype build. Then we started the 3-year journey of actually building what we designed. Hab 1 was successful, generating over $15,000 in revenue in just a few months of operations through produce sales. In addition to its success with sales, we also had multiple varieties of plants that were able to be grown using various aquaponic methods, as well as the copious amounts of lessons learned that we gained through the real-world experience of operating this complex integrated system. Others took note of our work, including Motherboard Magazine, who awarded us the 2017 Human of the Year Award. That was cool. As well as our local Evening Magazine, who did a great feature of our efforts. With the cataloging and posting of our experiences on YouTube, we gained additional exposure and were invited to speak at the International Space Development Conference's Farmers in Space panel, as well as a local TEDx event where we were able to share our entire story. Not everything has gone according to our plans. In the winter of 2018-19, we took quite a few steps backwards when Mrs. Martian called me while I was at work, telling me I needed to get home immediately because Hab 1 was collapsing in the snow. Sadly, by the time I was able to get home, it was too late. We lost Hab 1 completely. It was due to a winter storm that brought 48 inches of snow in only 48 hours. The building should have withstood that snow load, but it surely didn't. Luckily, we had done the smart thing and taken out an insurance policy on Hab 1. We were able to get about 50% of our personal $250,000 investment back from the insurance claim, and then we sold almost everything that we could salvage from the building to put a dent in the difference. We still lost money, but we decided that the money is like paying for a college degree from the School of Hard Knocks, so it was worth it. We spent a lot of time thinking, reflecting, and quite honestly praying for what God wanted us to do after the collapse. Was the collapse of Hab 1 a sign to stop, or was it an opportunity to move forward? Was it a test of our resolve, our beliefs, our faith? We really did take this quite seriously, and we decided it was the latter. And we chose to continue forward, and therefore, in the spring of 2018, we began the design of Hab 2. During that time, the Real Martian channel basically went dark for months as I created the mathematical models to ensure that Hab 2 did not fall victim to the same mistakes or failures or defects of Hab 1. After months of analysis, I was extremely excited because every one of them showed that we had a solution in our hands that would actually work. Not just function, but it actually worked financially. Now, after our speaking event at the space conference, we met some great folks from Eat and Grow Systems from Houston, Texas, a startup trying to do something very similar to what we were doing. So we were introduced to Eat and Grow Systems. We had the collapse of Hab 1. We had some money from the insurance policy. And with the design of Hab 2 closing financially, and after a very long period of prayer and reflection, my wife and I decided that it was time for us to take a leap of faith and for me to leave my day job and pursue this effort full time with Eat and Grow Systems. In May, I left my job of 10 years, where I was the program manager responsible for the new product development of some pretty awesome autonomous products. It was a cool job, and there's a lot of great people there, and I still miss them. My wife and I took this leap of faith, putting God in the driver's seat. We are along for the ride. I'm now the Chief Operations and Technology Officer for Eat and Grow Systems, though there's no income associated with that job quite yet. It's a little different working for startups, you know. You really have to watch that bank account closely, and you truly come to appreciate every dollar that the Lord has blessed you with as you watch the total in your account approach zero. What we learned from Hab 1 is that we have a really good set of systems, systems of systems, if you will, that work together effectively to provide scalable, sustainable food and energy production. While working with Eden, I came to appreciate the fact that investors want to see value in the companies they invest in, and one way that is done is through patents. This is a debatable step in our journey, but after consulting the folks closest to our potential investors as well as our investors themselves, we decided to submit the patent for what we call the Genesis system. Or you can use the full title if you want, the Scalable Bioregenerative Crop and Energy Production System for Terrestrial and Non-Terrestrial Use. But the Genesis system sounds way cooler. After leaving my job and submitting the patent, we were able to raise $80,000 through family and friends to support our efforts through Eden. The level of support was amazing and truly humbling. A lot of people believe in the need for and what we are doing. I've also been blessed with the ability to use some pretty high-power engineering design tools to perform the necessary design analysis. This includes Cameo Systems Modeler, where I actually captured and mapped every system interface and established the system requirements. Through the entrepreneur program at Dassault Systems, I've been granted licenses for SolidWorks and SolidWorks Finite Element Analysis and their FlowSim tools. These have proven to be invaluable and have helped validate my various hand calculations. In total, these tools amount to over $20,000 in software, just for the two of them. Thanks to the folks at SimLab, I have their tool which transfers the SolidWorks models into virtual reality so that I can perform human factors analysis. This has been amazingly helpful as well as just plain old cool, and has resulted in quite a few design changes. When you use big tools, you need a big computer to run them, and my workstation laptops from Lenovo, while powerful, weren't able to handle the processing requirements to execute the needed thermal dynamic analysis that I had to do. So I had to build my first computer, and we went big. This water-cooled machine cut our analysis runtimes from 48 hours per run down to 12 hours, and that's important because we had to do almost 100 different runs to get the analysis that we needed to see. And now, with the tools in place, I have been able to complete the detailed analysis for HAB2, including systems integration, structural using FEA and SolidWorks, power management, and most importantly, thermal. The HAB2 design package was fully completed this summer and was sent to suppliers for feedback on manufacturability. I personally visited each potential supplier to evaluate their capabilities and quality levels. Since we intend to sell HAB2 systems as well as various other consumer products via Eden, it was time for me to also engage with the local governments and authorities in order to discuss permitting and legal requirements for the build. The meeting went great, and we are now starting down the path of understanding the legal requirements for others to procure the systems we are designing and will soon be building. So that's a whole lot of where we've been, but where are we going? Well, for starters, we have quite a few potential investors that are ready to come and invest in us, but they all ask for one thing: show me. And that's really interesting because I had an initial investor quite a while ago when we first started that said the exact same thing, and we built one. And now these guys are saying the exact same thing even after we built another one. So it's kind of interesting how that all works out, but I get it. They're probably all from Missouri, the show me state. We have verbal commitments from quite a few customers, a handful in fact, that all want to say the same thing. You know, I've been on the phone with a few of them, and they're like, hey, if you had it working today, I'd buy it today. So we're excited about that. You know, potential investors and potential customers, that's a great place to be. We have to choose, and in fact we have chosen which particular version of HAB2 we're going to build. Are we going to do the mobile version first or the permanent version first? And I'm excited to share that with you. We're going to have a reveal here later in January as we get ready for that. It's going to be pretty cool to see that. Some things we need to do locally, like right now. Well, first, it's wintertime, and it's amazing the weather is not worse than what it is right now. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But we really need to get the site prepped out there and ready for the build. And one of the key things that we need to do is have a shelter that I can actually store my tools in and kind of get out of the weather, maybe do some warm up so that I don't freeze to death out there. We are on a deadline. They want to see stuff in the first quarter of this year, so we've got 3 months to get everything all figured out, built, and operating. And that does mean that I have to work in a very inopportune period of time during the year, winter. So it's going to make for some great YouTube, though, I think, seeing me out there. We need to get the tools that we need to do this job, and we need to procure the long lead parts from the suppliers for all the custom parts that we're going to be making. We need to start the build, and then we need to update the design package as we go. So that's the important thing, right? When I did Hab 1, it was basically, do design and then go out there and just figure out how to build it. And we changed stuff along the ways. We kind of got off the primary discipline journey, and it turned into, okay, let's MacGyver this and figure it out. This effort is not going to be like that. For sure, we're going to have some problems and issues that I haven't been able to think fully through because you have to have it in the real world. But everything that I could think through, I have thought through. So as we go, I need to update the design package, which means the drawings and all the requirements that go with it, to match the things that we learned during the build. This is what separates people who are just tinkerers from those that are actually a company who manufacture parts. Is those that have drawings, that have everything written down, can scale very rapidly, whereas those that are just in their garage tinkering, it's a custom job for everything. They're all one-offs, and they could all be different, and that interferes with your level of quality. So we've got to make sure that design package is up to date. So there's going to be design, go out, build, fabricate, redline the drawings as we go, come back and update those drawings. And there is one guy doing all of that, and that's me. So that's going to be interesting. And of course, after we get it all built, then it's a matter of cycling the system and getting some plants in it and fish and seeing it all operate so that we can get the investors up here and they can check it all out. There's days that go by that this just feels crazy, but it actually seems like we have come upon an actual solution to the problems that we're trying to go after. I've gone over those problems in previous videos, but I'm going to do another video coming up. It kind of goes over the why again to bring everybody who's brand new to the channel up to date, but you can go back and look for a video where I went over the why and the problems that we're doing. Essentially, in 11,000 years, agriculture really hasn't changed since it was invented. Now, there's a lot of stuff that has changed, but the essentials, the big things, really haven't. So let's go over those. You got to have a bunch of land, and it has to be really, really good land. You can't grow food in bad soil. It just doesn't work. You can make soil better. You can amend that soil, but you got to bring it up to be good soil. That hasn't changed. You got to have a lot of good water. It's got to be clean. It's got to be good. It's got to be healthy. If you put bad water in your crops, all the chemicals, the pollutants, everything that's in that water gets into your food, and your quality of food drops. Sometimes the plants won't even grow. So you got to have good land, a lot of it, and you got to have a lot of clean water. Another thing that you need is labor, lots of it. Watching it, taking care of it, tending it, weeding it, all those things, harvesting it. We've had major advances in a lot of those things from technology standpoint. We have machines now, so you don't have to have as much human labor, but you still need those big machines. You still need the same amount of labor. Planting a potato, whether it's with a machine or with a human, you still have to plant it. You still have to spend the time. Machines help us do it faster. They reduce the amount of human labor, but the cost for those machines is very high. So essentially, you still have the same problem. It requires a lot of labor to do all that. And finally, you got to pray for good weather, man. I mean, if the weather's bad, you don't plant your crops. This year, this winter of 2018, 2019 that we just came through, you could see the weather shifted, and the farmers, they are really hurting right now. We had a lot of snow in the winter, and then that snow stayed longer than it usually does. And then it all melted, and then they had a bunch of rain. And if you've been paying attention to the reports out of the Midwest here in the U.S., the fields were flooded, and they couldn't get their machines in to actually do the work. So weather is a huge thing. And in the summertime, if it doesn't get hot enough, if you don't have high enough heat, the plants don't grow as well. So you've really got to have all of these different weather factors come together. You got to have the right amount of water. You have to have the right amount of rain. You have to have, sun. You have to have the right amount of temperature. that's out there. If it's too cold, plants won't grow as well. If it's too hot, they won't grow as well. So land, water, labor, and weather. All those things is essentially our farming 1.0. And again, it sounds crazy, but I really feel that either we've got it or we're on the right track to it. But I think we've come up with farming 2.0. And it's going to be exciting to share how it all goes. I know a lot of people will probably say, bleh, the red BS flag comes out, but I actually mean that. Like, the analysis is working out. And I got to get out of the computer mode. I got to get out of this office, and I got to get out there and build it. But right now, the math works out, and the math says we have farming 2.0. It's going to take up less space. It's going to harvest its own water from the atmosphere. It's going to use 99% less water than traditional agriculture. It's going to require up to 75% less labor. It's going to have the highest amount of margin that's available in a system based off of what we learned on Have 1 and average market value prices for vegetables and fish, various vegetables. Now, what we have is not going to replace farming 1.0. It's not. That's not the intent. You're not going to go buy one of our systems and stop farming corn on thousands of acres. That is not. Those are apples and oranges, totally different thing. We're talking about food for families, and we can change their budget. We can change the way that food for families is done with our systems, or small communities, not just families, but small communities. So farming 2.0, I'm excited to see if it's real or not. Proof is in the system once it's operational. Power is the main issue. It always has been. For anybody who's looked at indoor growing, there's been a lot of startups, a lot of farm in boxes, or fibs as we call them, at least the ones that are out there right now. They don't really take in consideration the power problem. At least they don't appear to up front, and that's why a lot of them have started. They kind of like a flash in the pan. They start, they do great, and then they kind of go away. And the reason for that is if you look at their margins in what they sell, not that if they can grow stuff, because you can grow stuff in a Connex, but can you grow it where the margin makes sense to where what you put in is worth what you're getting out? Are you making money on it if you're doing it commercially, or are you at least coming out ahead if you've invested in this for yourself? If you can go down and get the food at the grocery store and pay less for it than paying for a system that makes you have to pay more for it, most people are going to say, well, I'm going to go pay for less if I can get it. Now, if food security is an issue, a lot of people are going to come over and say, well, I'd rather grow my own food, so they're willing to invest. We want to make it available where people can grow their own food at an affordable price, where it makes sense, where they can grow their own food and not have to go to the grocery store to get a large chunk of what they need. You can't replace the modern agriculture's availability and the maybe not modern ag as much as it is modern logistics. Like you can get, tropical fruit up in Canada in the middle of winter because of our logistics. But what happens if those logistics go down? What happens if there's a fault in it? Well, you're not going to get it. And that's kind of how our system's going to be as well. It's like, you're not going to be able to grow everything from around the entire planet. Some things would be more location-based, but if you work together in community, you could probably find a way to grow a large diversity of crops. And our systems are going to allow you to grow a large diversity. It's not just going to be the vertical grow walls or horizontal or aeroponics or aquaponics. We actually have a combination of multiple things different techniques that we're putting into our systems, including the ability to grow potatoes without media. So we're really excited about that. So basically, it's just time to build this thing and see if it's going to work or not. I mean, again, the math and everything shows that it will. The design is there. We just got to go build it. So I want to end this video with a major set of thanks. Major thanks to everyone who's been supporting this channel over the years and all those who have just come. Your contributions financially, as well as the knowledge that you've shared. Even though I'm not the world's greatest person at getting to every single comment, I just don't have time. I do read a lot of them, if not all of them, and you can see a lot of your impacts have shaped what we've done as well as what we're going to be doing. I also want to say thanks to my family, my nearest family and my extended family. Thank you so much for all your support. Without you guys, this would not be possible. You've created the circumstances by which I'm able to do this. So thank you for that. Thanks to my friends. You guys have been very supportive. As I've worked through this process, I've been like one of the least available people on the planet because I'm always in my office with my headphones on and doing work, and I'm just not on the phone. I'm not texting. I'm not on social media like I should be to keep up with my relationships. I'm sorry about that. But you see what we're working on. I'm really, really grateful for your understanding and support. I think probably one of the largest ones is thanks to my wife. Without her love and support, none of this would ever have been started. I remember many, many years ago, before we even started doing this, where I actually put together a huge presentation and a huge business plan. It was like that thick and everything, and I went through it with her. And without her support on this, without her go signal, it would have never occurred. So thank you, honey. I love you. And I'm very, very grateful for all that you supported us on this project, even though it's been tough at times. Finally, and this one's going to get a little weird for some of you, but major thanks to Jesus. I know a lot of people out there don't believe in God and even less believe in Jesus, but there's a large group of you out there that do, and you know what I'm about to say. For those that don't, I hope you do come to know the Lord. We all operate on faith, whether you're a believer or an atheist. Every person out there believes in something. I choose to believe that in the beginning there was God. Others choose to believe and put their faith in the fact in the beginning there was nothing. But it doesn't matter. All of us live on faith. And in my faith, I believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And God has rules. The creator of the universe has rules, and I can't follow them because I'm a sinner. I try to, but the things I don't want to do, I keep doing. And I've turned to Jesus as the Son of God who came down and died for my sins. And he's the guy in court when he comes in and the judge is saying, Jeff, you are guilty. And I sit there and I say, I plead Jesus. And Jesus comes up and takes my place. So I'm very thankful to him for that. But also just, the skills, the experiences in life that he's allowed me to have to where I even have the skills to be able to do something like this, because I do a lot. Welding and building and the designing and video and planning and strategy and financial stuff. And there's so many different experiences that I did not intend to have, but I have, and they're all coming together to make this happen. The relationships that I have had, I didn't get to choose who was in my life and who wasn't, who I met, who I didn't. That all happened through him. And he put some amazing people in my life that either straightened me out or gave me new knowledge or helped me out in times were tough. So I'm very grateful to him for that. My prior jobs and the money that I've been blessed with, it's not my money, it's his. And I am so grateful that he's given us this opportunity. I've woken up every day since I've left my job just saying thank you, because most people don't get this experience. We've been blessed to have the money in the bank to be able to do this for a little bit of time, and we're trusting in him, and so far it's really working out. Our neighbor, without Jesus, I would have not met my neighbor. Again, one of those relationships, and that neighbor connected us with all of you on YouTube, and then YouTube led to all those things I spoke about earlier, the speaking engagements, TEDx, evening news, Human of the Year, all those things wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for YouTube. And we've gotten a lot of support through Patreon, as well as other fundraising mechanisms, GoFundMe. So without YouTube, without my neighbor, without God stepping in, I didn't force my neighbor to move next door to me. I didn't force him to become a 1 million subscriber YouTube person. He did all that on his own, and God brought us together. Some people will say that's chance. I say that's BS. That's God intervening and bringing his people together to do good things. Definitely thanks for keeping me off the wrong path, because I've been on the wrong path. I've done bad things. I am not a perfect person. I have definitely done not good things. And he's whacked me on the head and put people in my life that have whacked me on my head. Mom, thank you. Ron, thank you. That's really important, and I'm very thankful for that. And he's also put me on the right path. He's closed doors and he's opened doors that have allowed me to be here. And I can look back You know, hindsight is 2020. You can look back and you can see all those things that he's done in my life. The dots, turn left when you should have turned right, and then come back and get back on the right path. Like, you can see all of that stuff and how it's brought us here. I'm really grateful for that. And the weather. Right now, it's raining out. It looks like it has some snow mixed in with it. And what should be happening right now is there should be about 3 to 4 feet of snow on the ground, because it usually starts snowing here in November. It's now January, and we don't have any snow on the ground. And what that means is I've been able to go out and get parts brought in, because we live out in the middle of nowhere. And when you have semi trucks, that need to haul stuff in, they don't like to drive in snow. And we've been blessed with weather that allows us to continue to get parts, even though every year we have lived here, that is now going on 9 years, we have had snow on the ground of at least 2 to 3 feet right now. But this year is different. Right? That every year. But now it's different because we need it. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And I think that's just another example of God's hand being on this project. And my wife and I have really talked about this a lot, that, if you look at all this, it's just chance. It's just chance that you know all these people, that you've met everybody, that you've been given this money, that you've learned these lessons, that Have One failed. Remember how upset I was when Have One failed? That was huge. That really hurt us. But instead of being a curse, it was a blessing. The money that we got from that allowed us to do this. And ever since we've taken that leap of faith, we've been rewarded. I mean, we're here. We get to do this. Our marriage is getting better. My health is getting better. Our relationships with other people are getting better. Just things are getting better. And I can't guarantee where that all goes, but I do know this, that when you look at it in total, there's no way that that's chance. The probability of all these things coming together to make certain that this thing happens is got to be zero. It's got to be. And if it's not zero, it's going to be really close, like 0.0000 something number. That probability of chance says this could happen like this. There's a God. He's real, folks, and he's moving around us, and he wants good things to happen to all of us. And I hope this video at the end here just inspires some of you maybe to go pick up his word and see what his promises are, because they're pretty powerful. So what we've decided to do is move out on faith. A lot of people talk about that. A lot of people have done it before me. They're probably better at it than I am. Being a controlling program manager, engineer, type A personality, I like to have control, even though it's a myth, but still like to pretend like I do. In this case, I don't. I just work here, and he's in control. And so far, the path that we're on, the people we've met, the money that we've raised, it shows that his hand's on this, and we are just going to follow him in faith and see where it goes. It might end up being that this is just about sharing this message with you guys, and there might be one person out there who watches this and their life has changed forever for the better, and then it would all be worth it. That's like worth a whole bunch of money if we can do just that. Maybe there's more than that. Maybe we fail, and that's because we need to be taught a lesson. I think about that, but I don't think that's the case given how well everything's going. So we'll see what happens, but so far it looks pretty good. So anyway, I think that's it. Next video, I want to talk about the why of what we're doing, and then we are going to get started on building stuff. So for those that have been hanging around to get back to me working outdoors and building stuff, your wait is about to be rewarded. One more video on why and talking from the office here, and then we will get outdoors and get to building. So I hope you enjoyed this video. A nice little recap of everything we've done. Welcome to 2020. Happy New Year to everybody. I pray that all of you have a blessed 2020. May it be better than all the other years before. If you did like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. And don't forget the little bell, apparently, because YouTube drops you off if you don't hit the bell and you don't get notified. Don't forget you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Patreon, though I'm not really great at all that social media stuff. I've come to realize that about myself. There's just so much to do. So YouTube's definitely a great place, and Twitter is my favorite, even though it's so passé, apparently. I am not connected to all that, and everybody loves Instajam, but I call it Instajam. I'm not going to do it because I already got plenty of other stuff to do. So anyway, thanks again for following along. I think it's time to go get to work. This is Real Martian. Out.